Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. This time, we're heading back to Elizabethan England
Ooh, exciting, yeah.
to explore the life of a woman named Mary Lee Greenfield.
I don't think I've heard that name before.
To be honest, neither had I. But
Right.
her story was really fascinating. And it's all thanks to these excerpts we found from a biography written by her 15th great-grandson.
Oh, wow, 15th great-grandson. That's quite the connection.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like getting this kind of like backstage pass
Right.
to Elizabethan England. But instead of focusing on the big names, the royalty,
Yeah.
we're hanging out with the everyday people
Ooh, I love that.
who kept everything running.
Right, the unsung hero.
Yeah, exactly.
So easy to focus on the, big battles and monarchs.
Yeah.
But honestly, the lives of people like Mary Lee Greenfield,
Mm-hmm.
that's where history really comes alive.
Right.
Their struggles, their joys, their resilience
Yeah.
in the face of all the challenges that life threw at them. It's a good reminder that history isn't just like something you read in a textbook.
Oh, for sure.
It's a tapestry
Uh-huh.
woven from, millions of these individual stories.
I love that. And okay, so let's set the scene a little bit.
Okay.
1563, Billingshurst, Sussex.
Okay.
Enter Mary Lee Greenfield.
All right.
Her father, Colonel Henry Richard Lee, was actually a soldier
Ooh.
in Queen Elizabeth I's army. And you can kind of see
Nice.
that military background in their family life a little bit.
That makes sense.
But her mother, Elizabeth Crispe,
Okay.
now she came from a family of what they called gentry.
Gentry.
And
What
basically,
does that mean?
they weren't quite nobility,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
they were very well off and they had a good deal of influence.
Oh, so like upper middle class.
Yeah, something like that. So you can see Mary's upbringing was this really fascinating mix
That's just, yeah.
of practicality and then a little bit of privilege too.
Yeah, so the best of both worlds, kind of.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like she had these strong influences from both of her parents.
Definitely.
She kind of got that loyalty and sense of duty from her father, but also like a sharp intellect and business sense from her mother.
Yeah, that's what really comes out in the story.
And growing up in the Sussex countryside,
Yeah.
surrounded by nature, rolling hills,
Oh, yeah.
the rhythms of rural life,
Mm-hmm.
that must have instilled in her like this deep connection to the land,
Absolutely.
which, later on becomes a really crucial part of her story.
It's so true. It's like, that saying, you are a product of your environment, really comes to life with Mary.
Yeah, for sure.
And the biography actually describes the Sussex countryside
Okay.
as both like a playground for her,
Huh.
but also kind of like a classroom.
Oh.
Like she was absorbing the landscape and learning
That image.
from just being there.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have her growing up. But before we go too far, let's talk about, I guess, kind of a turning point
Yeah.
in Mary's life, which is her marriage
Oh, okay.
at the young age of 17
Wow. 17.
to a man named William Morris Greenfield, a landowner from Slinfold.
Oh, okay. So nearby.
Yeah. Now, we have to remember that marriage back then
Yeah.
wasn't always necessarily about love.
Oh, definitely not.
Right. It was often about, alliances,
Right.
social standing, economic security.
Right. It makes you wonder what was going through Mary's head as
Yeah.
they're, walking down the aisle, essentially.
At 17,
Yeah.
what are you really thinking at that point?
Right.
But from the excerpts that we have, it seems like
Okay.
their partnership really wasn't just practical.
Okay.
It seems like they actually enjoyed spending time together and really respected each other's intellect.
Wow. So they were a true partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because it kind of challenges our assumptions
It does.
about what women's roles were really like back then.
Right.
They had 2 children together,
Okay.
Maurice and Mary,
Okay.
and they managed their estate together,
Mm.
which, let me tell you,
Yeah.
that was no small feat in Elizabethan England.
I can imagine.
We're talking about overseeing the entire household, managing the land,
Right.
making sure everyone is taken care of,
Yeah.
not just your family, but all the people that work for you as well.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Huge responsibility.
It's so easy to romanticize history, but the reality is life back then was incredibly hard,
Oh, absolutely.
especially for women.
Yeah, for sure.
And we have to remember, this is Elizabethan England.
Mm-hmm.
It was a time of massive change and upheaval.
Right. I mean, you think about the defeat of the Spanish Armada.
Yeah, in 1588.
Like that unified the country.
Yeah.
This wave of national pride, but still underneath the surface,
Right.
there were local conflicts
Yeah.
and religious tensions were still there.
Right. It was a very tumultuous time.
Absolutely. And, for those who aren't as familiar with that era, imagine a world where your religion could literally be a matter of life or death.
Right.
That's scary. England was going through this huge shift from Catholicism to Protestantism.
Right.
And that caused a lot of unrest.
Yeah.
And, Mary and her family, they were right there in the thick of it.
Absolutely. Because we can't forget her dad, the colonel.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He was still actively involved in the militia.
Oh, wow.
So they were very aware
of
the local skirmishes and the threats they posed.
It must have been a constant worry in the back of their minds.
Absolutely.
So you can see that her life, while it may seem kind of ordinary on the surface, is really intertwined with these major historical events.
Right. It's like we're seeing this big picture of history through this lens of her everyday experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinating way to look at it.
Yeah. And it makes you realize that even seemingly ordinary lives can be touched by extraordinary events.
Absolutely. And speaking of extraordinary events, there's this rather dramatic chapter in Mary's life that we need to talk about.
Oh, what of that?
The blight of 1590.
The blight?
Yeah. It hit that Sussex region really hard.
Oh, no.
Wiped out crops and left a lot of families struggling to survive.
That's awful.
It was a tough time. And you know what?
What?
This is where we see Mary's resourcefulness and her resilience really shine through.
Interesting. What did she do?
Because instead of, giving into despair, she took action.
Okay, good for her.
She established this weaving business on their estate. And she employed local women.
Oh, that's great.
Who were also struggling because of the blight.
Yeah.
So she really becomes the 16th century entrepreneur.
Wow.
She finds a way to support not only her family, but also her community.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And it wasn't just a practical solution to this really tough situation.
Yeah.
But it was also a way for Mary to challenge the traditional role of women in Elizabethan society.
Yeah.
You think about it, she was providing employment.
Yeah.
Creating this sense of, agency for herself and other women and really contributing to the economic stability of her community.
It's true.
It's like she was a proto-feminist centuries before the term even existed.
I love that. That's such a good point. It's like we see...
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
Yeah, this spark of revolution in her actions. Even if, she wouldn't have called it that at the time.
Right.
It makes you wonder how many other women throughout history were doing similar things and just quietly, challenging the status quo and making a difference.
Exactly. And that's what makes studying history so rewarding. It's full of these hidden stories.
It is.
These individuals who might not have, made it into the history books, but whose lives offer us these incredible insights into the past.
Absolutely.
And with Mary, her story's just getting started.
Ooh, okay.
Believe it or not, her life takes this really dramatic turn in the summer of 1598.
All right, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
I need to know more.
Stay tuned.
All right, so spill the tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Picture this.
Okay.
It's a warm summer evening in 1598.
Okay.
And a traveling troupe of actors arrives in Slinfold.
Okay.
They're on their way to the London stage.
All right.
Now, back then, actors weren't exactly held in, high esteem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were seen as
interesting,
a little bit rough around the edges, shall we say.
Okay, right.
But Mary, maybe with a bit of that inherited curiosity from her mother, decides to welcome them onto her estate.
Wow. So not only was she running the successful business, managing her estate,
dealing with all the realities of life in Elizabethan England, she also had time for the arts.
She did. I'm impressed.
Well, and this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because among those actors is a young playwright rumored to be...
Oh, who is it?
None other than Christopher Marlowe.
Wait a minute, Christopher Marlowe?
Yeah.
As in, like, the playwright that some people believe actually wrote some of Shakespeare's plays.
That's the one.
Okay. The guy who had a little bit of a rebellious streak?
Yeah, you could say that, to put it mildly.
Yeah, a little bit.
So what was he doing traveling with this troupe of actors?
Yeah.
And more importantly, what was Mary thinking, inviting him into her home?
Well, now that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
The biography mentions that Marlowe might have been laying low using a fake name after a brush with the law.
Oh.
So imagine the whispers.
Yeah.
The speculation surrounding his presence. This is like a historical drama unfolding.
It kind of is.
Right. It really is.
We've got intrigue, mystery, and a touch of danger.
A little bit. A little bit.
Okay. I have to know what happens next.
Well, according to the source, Mary's garden was transformed into a stage.
Wow.
Lit by lanterns.
Oh, nice.
With the summer night sky as a backdrop.
Beauty.
And these actors, with Marlowe among them, they put on this hilarious comedy.
Really?
Yeah. And it had everyone in stitches.
You can practically hear the laughter echoing through the centuries.
I know, right?
I can picture it. The rustling leaves, the flickering candlelight, the shared laughter between Mary and this mysterious playwright.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think that someone like Mary, living this what seemed to be ordinary life, had a brush with someone as famous and controversial as Christopher Marlowe.
Well, it was more than just a brush.
Okay.
Because after the performance,
Mary never one to shy away from a good intellectual debate.
Okay.
Engages Marlowe.
Wow.
In a conversation about the role of art in society.
All right, so hold on.
Yeah.
We have a woman in rural Elizabethan England debating one of the most celebrated playwrights of the era.
I know, right?
About the power of storytelling.
It's amazing.
It really shatters all of our expectations.
It really does.
About what the limitations of women were during that time.
Exactly.
I'm speechless, I have to admit. I'm getting chills.
It's a powerful image.
Just thinking about this seemingly ordinary woman debating this literary giant in her own garden.
I know, it's pretty incredible.
Makes you wonder what they talked about.
Yeah.
What ideas did they share?
Right.
And what impact did this encounter have on Mary's thinking?
What did it spark in her?
Right. Did it spark this hidden passion for the arts? Did it change her whole perspective on the world?
Did it change her life?
Yeah, and did those changes ripple through the generations of her family?
It's fascinating to consider all those possibilities.
Yeah, it's incredible. And that's what makes the story so captivating.
It really does.
Right.
It really does.
Because we're left with these tantalizing hints, and we have to kind of piece together the rest.
Fill in the gaps ourselves.
Yeah.
But what we do know is that Mary lived for another 12 years after this encounter.
Okay.
The biography describes those later years as relatively peaceful.
Okay.
Although her health did start to decline as she entered her late 40s.
Okay.
And she passed away in 1610.
Okay.
At the age of 47.
It's a good reminder that even in those times, life was fragile.
Oh, absolutely.
And 47 was actually considered a pretty decent lifespan.
Yeah.
So it makes you appreciate the resilience of people like Mary, who faced so many challenges and still found ways to make their mark on the world.
And speaking of making a mark, Mary's legacy didn't end with her passing.
Okay.
She was buried in the churchyard of St. Mary's in Billingshurst.
Okay.
And her grave actually became a place of remembrance for her descendants.
Wow.
It's almost as if, even in death, she continued to hold this central place in her family's story.
It's amazing.
Her son Maurice inherited the estate.
Okay.
And her daughter, also named Mary, married, well, in the nearby city of Chichester.
Okay.
So it seems like her values of hard work, resilience, community, they were passed down through her children.
I think that's one of the most powerful takeaways from this whole deep dive.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's about those unseen legacies.
Yeah.
Those subtle ways in which our ancestors' lives, their choices, their experiences shape who we are today.
Exactly. We might not have these grand statues or monuments dedicated to people like Mary Lee Greenfield, but their stories are etched into the very fabric of history.
I love that. That's a beautiful way to put it.
And through these stories, we can gain a deeper understanding.
Yeah.
Not just of the past. But also of ourselves.
You know, it's funny. Before this deep dive,
I
had never even heard of Mary Lee Greenfield.
Really?
And now I'm completely captivated.
I know, right?
By her story.
It's fascinating.
It makes you realize how much history is really hidden in plain sight.
It really is.
Just waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
And it's a reminder that history isn't just dates and battles. It's the stories of individuals like Mary, who lived, loved, struggled, and ultimately left the world a little bit different than how they found it.
I love that.
It's a testament to the power of ordinary people to do extraordinary things.
It really is.
It makes you wonder about all the other ordinary individuals throughout history.
It does.
Whose stories haven't been told.
Yeah.
Whose lives have shaped our world in ways we might never even fully comprehend.
It's a humbling thought.
It is.
And it makes me think about my own ancestors.
Oh, yeah.
What hidden stories might they hold?
Mm-hmm.
What seemingly small actions did they take that had ripple effects through generations?
It's a thought-provoking question, isn't it?
It is.
It invites us to look beyond the traditional narratives of history.
Yeah.
And delve into those personal stories, those hidden threads that connect us to the past in ways we never imagined.
That's beautifully put. I agree.
And speaking of connections, there's one aspect of Mary's story that keeps coming back to me. That meeting with Christopher Marlowe.
Yeah, it's almost like this kind of before and after moment in her life, you know?
Right, like that encounter was a catalyst that set all these other things in motion.
Absolutely. And, you know, we don't have all the details.
Right.
But it really makes you wonder, what if that one evening sparked something in Mary that, you know, we'll never fully know about?
Exactly. It's like a pebble tossed into a pond.
Oh, that's good.
You know, it creates these ripples that extend outward, impacting her life, her family.
Right.
Maybe even her community.
Yeah.
In ways that we can only imagine.
Absolutely. Like, what if she started writing?
Oh, interesting.
Like her own poetry or plays after meeting Marlowe.
Right. What if she found this, like, hidden talent?
Yeah. Or maybe she shared this newfound love of the theater with her children.
Right. Or used storytelling in her business.
Oh, that's a good point.
You know, we tend to box people into these neat historical categories.
It's true, we do.
But this story reminds us that real people, even those living centuries ago, were complex and full of surprises.
We can't underestimate the power of even a fleeting connection with someone who really challenges our thinking or introduces us to new ideas.
It's like that saying, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right, right.
Well, maybe for Mary, Marlowe became one of those 5.
Yeah, even if just for one night.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's such a powerful insight.
It is.
It makes me think about all the chance encounters I've had in my own life.
Right.
How have those conversations, those connections shaped the person I am today?
That's a humbling thought.
It really is. And, you know, it also speaks to something you mentioned earlier about unseen legacies.
Oh, yeah.
We often think of legacies as these grand achievements.
Right, exactly.
But they can also be these subtle influences, these sparks of inspiration that are passed down through generations.
Right, almost like whispers from the past.
Shaping families and communities.
Exactly.
In quiet but really profound ways.
It's beautiful.
Like maybe one of Mary's descendants inherited her love of storytelling and became a writer because of that one encounter with Marlowe.
Right. What if that's how it started?
Right.
It's amazing.
Or maybe her weaving business, which, you know, provided opportunities for other women, inspired future generations of women to be entrepreneurs or community leaders.
That's powerful.
It's like this ripple effect through time, you know?
It is. It connects us to the past.
Yeah.
In ways that we never even imagined.
Absolutely. And that's what I find so fascinating about Mary Lee Greenfield's story.
Yeah.
It reminds us that history isn't just about kings and queens and battles.
It's so much more than that.
It's about the lives of everyday people. Their struggles, their triumphs, their connection.
Their passions.
Yeah.
Their heartbreak.
And the enduring impact they have on the world around them.
Exactly.
You know, before this deep dive, I really wouldn't have thought that the life of a woman living in rural Elizabethan England could be so captivating.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's really amazing. And you know, Mary's story has shown me how much I still have to learn.
Always more to learn.
Always, yeah. It's a good reminder that every life, no matter how seemingly ordinary, really holds this universe of experiences and lessons and connections just waiting to be discovered.
I love that.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the life of Mary Lee Greenfield, I'm left with this sense of wonder and a renewed appreciation for the power of these hidden histories.
They're all around us.
It makes you want to dig deeper into your own family's past, doesn't it?
It does.
To uncover those untold stories and see how they've shaped who you are today.
Exactly. You never know what treasures you might find.
Right.
Hidden within your own family tree.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was fascinating.
It was my pleasure. And to everyone listening, thank you for being here. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Keep learning.
Into this fascinating world of history.
It's an adventure.
You never know what you might uncover.